action.
Why do you think 27% of African Americans are below the poverty line? Another huge question. I'm kidding.
I think people choose where they want to be. I think
Yeah.
I don't think it's like, every color, background, I think it's by person, and I think that the comparisons are silly. Like, that 27% wants to be that way. I think it's per person, and I don't think that it should have any kind of reflection upon any kind of, race, because this portion, so I couldn't tell you why. I think people choose to be that way. So.
Yeah, I think within certain, within the spectrum of the question, like, so for certain people, it's a choice about, like, maybe their drive or where they want to be or what they want to do. But I do think, for instance, I won't talk about the entire world, but the way that this country was formed and what it was based upon, you already have an unequal playing field. People talk about that all the time, but when you talk about a country where the majority of the people who form the country are white and who have all the power, who have all the privilege, who've actually taken the land from people who already inhabited here before, and then all of a sudden they're rich and they're like, they're the answers to the people who have money, and the people who, the generations that come after them have money, and all of a sudden they're just rich because because they're really smart and like they really have the drive to do that. It's still, it's a big question, but it's like when you have people, the majority of the people here, and you say African Americans were enslaved, and that's another thing that's taboo. People don't want to talk about slavery, and I don't even really have to go so far into it, but when you have a group of people who are enslaved, who are emancipated, so to speak, from slavery, but you still are under like some of the same oppressive measures that have kept them in slavery, and then you tell them all of a sudden, oh wow, like you can do anything you want to do, but you actually can't. Obviously now in this present day, it's somewhat different. Hopefully, I can say, it's getting better and people have more opportunities and able to do things. But when you have a structure, that was, when you think about it, it was really only almost like 100 years ago.
Right.
And the equality of people actually being able to actually do and be anything they want to be. Maybe, civil rights movement, like, about 60 years ago, 50 years ago, is something that it needs to be addressed. And so it's hard, now, because you can't necessarily just go back in history and say, and blame everything on history. But you really, that's what I say, it's really important to know your history, to know where you're going and know the direction that you should move in, and to be sensitive to people's, like, causes. And again, I don't blame, 27, percent of African Americans going because there was slavery. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that the playing field has never been equal. Like, it's still not equal. It's not equal, all over the world. And so those things you have to take into consideration. And it's usually the people who have money who say, oh, like, all you have to do is X, Y, Z, and this is where you'll be, or this is the type of person you are. Like, you having money is a direct reflection of your drive, or where you want to be in life, when there's a lot of other factors that go into that. So,
well, I am going to slightly disagree, just because I agree with you. I think that the playing field is not even for anybody. I know, myself personally, I grew up on a farm and ate beans and rice every day and didn't have anything. And I do think that everybody has more choices now than they did before.
I agree with
like
that,
you
yeah.
said, to be proactive. And I know that everybody has, doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, what's your background, where you're living at right now. Everybody has struggles. And I obviously there's old money, and these people, and like, unless you're from that, you're screwed. Really. You've gotta be that kind of person that wants to find their way out. I think ultimately to get out, whether it's working your way up to manager at McDonald's and kicking butt there and like
Right.
going on from there, or doing good in school and whatever it is. Like I think everybody has a choice to be good at something. It doesn't necessarily mean being rich. It doesn't necessarily mean oh, I'm gonna be this big rich person and I'm gonna get there. But I do think that everybody has a chance to say, oh, this is what my family has chosen to do. I'm gonna make myself better. I'm gonna be different, because I mean, if you look at my family compared to like me, I'm like, shoot, I don't even claim them.
Right.
No, but I do think that the playing field is not level, and I do think it's harder in certain areas. It's harder in certain areas, and it's harder for certain people. But I do think everybody has a chance.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with the fact that I'm definitely come from the perspective. Everyone does have struggles, and I don't think anyone's is worse off or better than. But I do think, when you talk about 27% of African Americans being below the poverty line, it's definitely something that it's not just a one word response. Like, oh, this this way because you want to be this way. There's definitely things that go into that. And there's so many issues from historically, like psychologically, the things you delve into.
People have issues, and that I mean that definitely there's boundaries there.